What's up, guys? Welcome to Superhero Chat. And we're going to talk a little different. I don't just keep wearing that. A little different today. We're going to talk about one of our favorite TV shows of all time, Psych. So, part of News and Notables, I suppose. News and Notables.
News and Notables.
News and Notables.
News and Notables. See, who knew you were going to get two songs?
Two songs.
Two. And the first one, we didn't sing enough for anybody to copyright infringe us, so whatever.
Well, you never know. I don't know. It might be. But,
we were parodying the Psych version of that Hall and Oates great, so...
Yeah,
It's a parody of a parody, so...
There's a Psych version out. The commercial that came out a decade ago.
Or more.
More, probably. Yeah. Anyways, it's one of our favorite commercials ever. Especially about a TV show.
Yeah.
So.
It's just like this perfect blend of schmaltzy goodness.
My trumpet fell on my comics. Anyways, so one of my news and notables is that I found this at Brandon Shop in Play for Life Comics in Wake Forest.
Play for Life Comics? I shop there. You shop there?
And he was selling it for super cheap. So.
And then he gave us an extra
pretty
deal.
Sweet. We've been reading through it and it's great. It's really great. The day that I got it, I read through a whole bunch of it.
As we were just riding around, it was great.
And we were having a good time. Anyways, but we're going to be talking about that. But first, we're actually going to get into some news and notables. If you're new, haven't been in the channel before, or if you just have watched a few, we've been doing a 31-day comic challenge.
What's your name?
I'm Jonathan.
What's my name?
It's Lewis. We're Superhero Chat.
With our new intro.
It's a little weird intro today.
Right. we did it, on the spur of the moment, so.
But,
I figured we should let the people who've never seen
us
before know
Also,
who
if you're new, we will get to Psych, but we do a little news and notables first. But anyways, we're doing a 31-day comic book challenge where you read a comic a day, which I'm failing horribly. He's probably doing pretty well.
I don't have a problem with that.
He's probably trying to keep it down to 31 instead of but I'm only like 5 behind, so let us know how you're doing. But we do want to review. Last week we reviewed 2 weeks ago because
somehow we missed last week, but
part of News and Notables is I introduced him to Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, and that's an excellent show.
It's been great, and that's part of the reason we took last week off. But
something else was going on. I forget what.
Ouch. But some stuff that I've been reading. Just more Hawkman. I don't know if I talked about this last time. I've been reading a whole bunch of Hawkman stuff. And I'm going to say I read, or we went to a comic book store in Raleigh, so it's not Brandon's shop in Wake Forest.
Because he wasn't open.
Right.
That's what took us so long last week.
That's right, because we went all the way to the other side of Raleigh.
Pardon my bag's loudness.
We got, I saw this amazing cover for Hawkman, and unfortunately I did not get it. But it was like $6 for issue number 1. I already had issue 1, so I didn't get it. But I feel like if I ever go back, I'm definitely getting that cover because it's amazing. But I've been reading a lot of Hawkman. I read the first 2 issues of an old Outsiders, which has been excellent. He actually gave it to me.
Except for all the time they spent describing Air Force One.
That's right. Well, that is a problem. They spend so much time describing everything, and I'm just like, just get on with it. It's like that scene in Monty Python. Get on with it. And then the other things I've read is Flash Forward, 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Excellent. Just great stuff. It's really just Lobdell's apology for everything that Tom King did. Sorry if you're a Tom King fan. Hashtag not really sorry. I guess the last thing I did read was Tinian Forth's Batman.
Oh, nice. Looks
Which,
like Deathstroke.
if you can see, it's pretty cool cover.
Yeah, it's sweet.
So pretty excited about that. We're glad to be back. He's got some things. Let us know in the comments what you've been reading, what you've been up to, and we'll get on to some Psych in a couple minutes.
He foisted this one on
That's
me.
right.
It's actually really good, and if I never read another part of it, I can appreciate what's in there. So there's that. Also, the only downside of this issue and this storyline in particular is it's a Fantastic Four book.
That's the downside?
But they're doing 6 parts for a story that I think they could have gotten done in 4. That's the downside. Because it's like an origin story. If you're going to do an origin of the Fantastic Four or amend the origin, do it in 4, right? Like, that makes sense to me. Otherwise, it's pretty good. This is a classic X-Men, or should I say X-Men Classic. You got Juggernaut and Colossus fighting it out in a bar after Colossus breaks up with Kitty.
Just laughing at your hat.
I know. He lent me this hat so that I could look silly for our music video portion of things. Jonathan gracefully gifted me with the Titans Convergence stuff, because I read them a couple weeks ago after he talked about them, and they totally lived up to the hype. Yeah. I was grateful. And
I had over the year or so bought 2 copies of it, so I was like, well, I'll just give 2 of them to him since he liked them.
Yeah, no, they were really good, and they had villains that I really appreciate. So, this isn't the last one. This is just a really good filler issue of Captain America. It's set during World War II. He fights Namor, who's kidnapped President Roosevelt. This is before the Invaders stuff. It's Roy Thomas writing. He does a brilliant job. The artist is a modern artist, but he styles his work on older artists, and it works well. It's good. A couple other news and notables. This one's new and notable. It's new.
Is it notable?
Yes, it is, and I'll tell you why in a minute. 750. That's the George Perez cover, and that's about the best thing about it. That's why it's notable. Because
we looked at some of the other covers, and that's by far the best. In our humble but accurate opinion.
That's right. But I was just disappointed. It just seemed like all the little things that make Wonder Woman, her standing for actual truth and not just personal truth, went out the window. She's going to follow her heart and ignore her deities that have blessed her with powers and things like that. It looks like they're setting up for her to potentially fight them. There's some awkward art,
which could be good, like her fighting her gods.
Yeah, potentially
could be good, but I'm in like the idea of it, not necessarily the way they're doing it.
Yeah. There's some art that's, you just wonder.
Looks like back and forth. Some good, some
yeah.
bad.
Like,
oh, that's awful.
Hold on, it gets worse.
That's
look at that right there.
Yeah, that's awful. That's ridiculous. In a $10 book, you shouldn't have art like that.
I'm just,
Let me see real quick.
Yeah. There's other stuff in there that
in a $10 book, that's the art you're looking for right there.
Right.
And you don't buy the whole thing just for that cover. Like
no. I would have bought the cover for $4 and suffered through the rest of it. But,
so,
yeah.
Last news and notable, I think.
Next to the last.
Okay, next to the last.
Because we have a couple other things.
I was going through Brandon's shop and I found this for $1. And Lewis is a little jealous of me.
Yeah, for $1?
It's Kyle Rayner and Silver Surfer. So, crossover DC and Marvel. I just thought the cover was cool.
And
I love Kyle Rayner, and so I picked it up, and Lewis has been jealous ever since.
Yes, for $1. When he told me that, I was like, "Shut your mouth! Don't talk to me like that." You have your ring on?
Yes.
Okay. So another news, but more notable.
Is
So
this really news?
it is. It is.
Okay.
Because every time
Okay.
we've done the channel and you pointed out the ring, I've been ringless.
Okay.
So Brandon was kind enough to hook us up with this awesome ring, and you guys may have noticed I have mine too.
Yeah.
And it
We can
perfectly
finally
fits.
do our.
Wonder Twin powers combined. Form of. You're not doing it.
We
Form
already
of
did it. Why are we doing it again?
Because.
You don't need to do it twice.
Anyways.
So I've been picking on him since we got the rings.
But I found mine.
And what I do is I'd go for a fist bump, and then he'd, go to a fist bump, and he didn't have a ring, so I just ignore.
But I found mine, so
All right.
solidarity.
All right.
Last bit of news and notable.
Go ahead.
All right. So we've decided to take the plunge.
Dum dum dum.
We're definitely gonna check out Brandon's Play for Life mini Comic Con here in Wake Forest. Apparently that's gonna be August. I want to say he said 15th. I'm pretty sure it's the 15th. He'll get me a flyer soon, and you guys will get sick of seeing that. But for now,
have you already talked to him about that?
I asked him about it the other day.
That's funny.
We have decided to visit a different Comic Con.
What?
Yeah, we're gonna go to Heroes Con in Charlotte in June.
Let's go.
I'm so excited. This has been. I told my wife it's sort of on my bucket list because I've heard about it all these years. Ever since I've wanted to go ever since I've been able to drive and had my own car. But I've just never had the time or the funds or the traveling companion. That's right, to go. And
I'm his Guy Butter Samps.
That's right. And I'm his Lavender Goose, so you know how that works. But no, seriously, we're excited. They've not released a lot of guest information, principally because they have a smaller show coming up next weekend. But some of the big names that are already listed: Mark Waid, Ron Friends, who did an incredible run on Thor. If you had that Thor book, you could show some art from that. But
that's all right.
Joe Staton, Brian Stelfreeze, who did some Batman work. I don't have all of the people memorized at this point, but that's just a start. It's a huge show. They have tons of creators. I think there was like 5 or 10 pages worth of creators alphabetized in their program from last year's show. So I'm just really excited. I called and asked.
He surprised. Well, he
he
prefaced this with, "I've got a big thing that I know you might not be able to commit to, but I really want us to do it." I'm like,
and you can't say no.
What in the world is he talking about? And then he's like, "Let's go to Charlotte Comic Con," and then he proceeds to go for like 10 minutes explaining everybody who's going and what they've done. I haven't heard any of these. I'm like, you had me, and let's go to Charlotte Comic Con, like.
So I am over the moon excited, and
I was gonna throw the Parks and Recs reference in, but it's not Psych. So.
Yeah. So just look for more. We're gonna tell you more about it.
Right.
So
I'm trying to curve this long talk over here.
Yeah. So unless you,
he could spend the next 40 minutes explaining that we're going, and he's really excited.
I could.
Come,
I totally
if you want to come and meet us or see us, we'll be there in rando.
Yeah, that's right.
Outfit.
Connect with us on Facebook, and we can schedule a superhero chat.
We'll probably be knee deep in dollar bins and 50-cent bins.
That's what I heard. And bothering famous writers and artists to sign our stuff, please.
But anyways.
So
all right,
on with the show.
On with the show. So me and Lewis are separately huge Psych fans. And I say that because we both were introduced to Psych long before we met each other.
Yes, long.
And it's one of our favorite shows, by far.
Especially the first 4 seasons or
and
so.
It's my second favorite USA show.
Oh, you're right.
So,
it's my first favorite. With a close second.
I just love Monk. We're not going to talk about that now, but I really, really liked Monk. And I think Monk. And we'll probably talk about this a little bit. We named it why it's one of the greatest shows ever, because I couldn't think of another name. We're just going to talk about Psych because we love it.
That's right. We're psychos.
I feel like Monk had a longer, like it didn't go down in quality as quickly as Psych did. But
even though that final episode was a little bit
I still
of a
haven't
letdown.
seen it.
Psych?
Oh, you're talking about
Monk, yes.
It was yeah. The last episode was, but I mean, it'd been 8 years of building up.
I know, right? So there was never a chance for them to live up to that.
I thought the present was interesting, but I was like, if he had just opened it like 20 years ago or whenever it was, like none of this would have happened. But
this is true.
Anyways,
sorry,
we're not here to talk about Monk.
That's a tangent.
That's right. We're here to talk about Psych. So we want to talk about our favorite episodes. And so
in no particular order.
Well, we can talk about our favorite episodes first.
Okay.
What's your favorite episode?
Ever?
And let us know what yours is in the comments.
Honestly, based on the way that I quote it, I'd have to go with the American Duos episode from season 2.
That's a great one.
it's just it's got Tim Curry in it. So if you're unfamiliar with Tim Curry, what kind of rock have you been living under? This is the one I want to ask. I mean, he was in Clue. He was in Home Alone 2.
Oh, that's right. Was he Mr. Green?
He was the butler.
Mr. Green was the butler.
Butler doesn't have a name.
Whatever.
In Clue, the butler doesn't have a name.
I'm talking about the movie.
Clue.
Right.
Tim Curry was the butler.
Whatever. It's been ages, and I've only seen it once, so...
we need to rectify that. I've seen it at least 15 times. My wife and I watched it 3 times after I got it on DVD because it's that funny. He was in National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon.
He was in Monk, too.
Hold on a second, we'll get to that. He played a wilderness scout girl. He was knocking on Whoopi Goldberg's door, and he killed her.
One of my favorite parts of that episode is when he's one of my favorite parts about any Psych episode is when they bring the whoever they're with that episode to their dad's house. And my favorite is when he's like snuggled up in his dad's
and he's doing this. He's like,
I feel like I'm wrapped in a cloud cocoon.
No, he says, I feel like a baby wrapped in cloud candy. Or an angel baby, I don't know what he says.
Oh, it's so good.
And then he disrespects Henry Stakes. He's like, I can still see where they hit it with the crop. And then, of course, if you guys have ever seen the show, you know for a fact that they call the Gus's little car the Blueberry. I don't know that it was called that at any point before that episode, but Tim Curry, he's like riding in the backseat. He says, I feel like I'm trapped in a blueberry. And,
yeah.
It's just perfect. Like, I find myself randomly quoting from that.
And they're making fun of a lot of, like, performance-based TV shows, like American Idol and...
Yeah, and that only makes it better.
Or British Got Talent and...
And then there's the Paula Abdul stand-in guy.
Well, and their final music number is just great.
Oh, right. Yeah. and then you have Rance and the other guy, the Yellow Rose of Texas.
That's good. That's good.
And there's one point where Gus is like, he's the killer, he did it. Just looking at the guy's steely eyes.
Yeah. It's so good.
But anyway, I find myself quoting...
That's a good episode.
Quoting the Spanish singer guy whose hit song was Mira Me.
Look at me. Look at me.
And when I want my kids to look at me and I have to say look at me more than once, I'm like, look at me. Look, Mira Me. And they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Dad. But it's great.
Excuse me. Lassiter with the lady when she's in jail. I want my purse. Don't look at my purse.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
My favorite episode, hands down, is the head, the tail, the whole bleep episode, and it's the shark episode. It's in end of season 4, right before the season finale, and it is glorious. It starts off with Lassiter on a beach, and he's decided that he's going to out Spencer, and it is so good. It is so good. And so the whole episode, Shawn is coaching Lassiter in being being Spencer and how he does his investigations, and it is great. But my favorite moment in that episode is Gus. He's in the.
Well, you got to set it up.
Well, so when Shawn and Gus get to the crime scene,
it's a particularly grisly crime
right,
scene.
because the guy's been half eaten by a shark, and they're denied access because of Lassiter. And Gus is like, "Well, I guess we can't go down there." And Shawn's like, "Well, it's a good thing because you know you have a tendency to basically." Talking about Gus's squeamishness with blood and stuff, and they bicker back and forth, and Gus basically tells him that he's changed. He's been hardened.
So he's
like,
says,
"So call me old."
No, hold on. At first he's like, "So call me Guts," and Shawn's like, "What?"
We already call you that.
He's like, "No, I said Guts."
He's like, "What are you saying? Guts? Guts? No, that's too close to Gus. All right, call me old Ironside.
Michael
like,
Ironside.
He's like, "Old iron stomach." Call me old iron stomach. But later they go to the coroner, and he's starting to get squeamish because the coroner Woody has lifted up the hand and it doesn't have any fingers, and he starts going. And Shawn's like, "You okay?" He's like,
Do you do that noise so well?
He's like, "Continue. No fingers, you say. Interesting." It's just the best line of the whole episode. So good, so good. And then, like at the end, you have Shawn explain like the last 4 years of their career to a bunch of like shark enthusiasts who are trying to hunt down the shark for the reward. And
he's trying to
I love that the dad catches the shark or catches a shark. But he's trying to get everybody's attention, so Shawn scratches the dry erase board because he's thinking it's a chalkboard, and he's like, "It's not working." And so he grabs the mic. He's like, to get everybody's attention. It's so good, so good. And I think probably both of our second favorite would be Gus Walks Into a Bank.
Yeah.
That's just classic. It's got all the great tropes of a bank hold up episode
with hostages,
but with Shawn and Gus thrown in the mix, and
that's the best. That is just great. Literally the best.
Because Shawn becomes the
hostage negotiator. And it's but if you've never seen this show.
He spends half the time making fun of the guy that Jules is into, and it's great. It's great, and it's great because Lassiter agrees with him,
right?
Because
the other guy thinks he's big stuff,
right? And Lassiter likes having control over the situation. So
right.
It's just a great episode, but. The show itself is it's so much fun.
It started off just perfectly.
Yeah.
Like that first episode. We were in Colombia last year, and we introduced our friend David to that show. He had never heard of it. And
we also introduced him to Princess Bride.
That's true. Those are two things you need in your life: Psych and Princess Bride.
That's right.
Anyway, I just remember watching it, and it had been years since I had seen it, and yet the quotes were just rolling off my tongue, much to everybody's chagrin. But that's just how I do. So it's whatever.
We were both quoting both of those movies the whole week.
Well, of course, because they're amazing.
And I throw some Monty Python, Holy Grail things.
Oh, I tried to explain the Spanish Inquisition to someone at work the other day.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
That's our number one, or that's our main weapon. Or
but that's
something
not
like
not Holy Grail though.
I know. Still.
I already quoted the Monty Python in this video.
I know, you referenced it.
I didn't even think about that,
but anyways.
Anyway, Psych.
So it's just a perfect beginning that leads to even more amazingness.
Well, and one of the great things about it is the relationship with Shawn and Gus. You see two bros who annoy the mess out of each other, but love to. They always come together in the end. They really care about each other, even though they're constantly bickering and picking on each other. And you really just get to see a friendship grow, and their childhood friends. And
that was one thing I loved about that show, the way they would always sort of frame the episode with the flashback to when they were kids.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And, except for when they switched young Shawn.
Well, yeah.
In season 4.
Because he
it just
aged
hit,
out.
right. I was like, come on, just make it a little older. Like.
Right.
But whatever. I'm not in charge,
And the show's off the air, so it's a pointless beef.
Although they're doing a second movie.
I heard that. So, yeah.
I haven't seen the first one. I just saw the musical.
I haven't seen that.
I need to watch the. Yeah. I need to finish the last season, which I'm working on, season 5 right now, and I'm working my way through again. So I might change some of my opinions on it, but yeah. And another thing, you get to see the back and forth between Shawn and Juliet.
And Shawn and Lassiter.
Right. Well, but like the romance aspect of it.
The bloom, yeah, because it was there from the very beginning in the second episode.
Right. I mean, the second episode is way better than the first. I like the first episode, but the second one just blows out of the water. Because as soon as you throw Jules in, like the chemistry between those two actors is.
And it's right there at the very beginning of that episode.
Yeah. Not that the lady from the first one was bad. It just she was more for Lassiter.
Yeah.
So, like Jules is like youth and naivete. Just works really well. She's more open-minded. Like the other girl came off a lot like Lassiter.
Serious, yeah.
And oh yeah. Finding the pineapple. Each episode was fun. That's right. They supposedly gave awards out for that. I don't remember.
Yeah, they had a contest to see if you could spot it. Yeah. And what's funny is before they announced that, a friend of mine and we were sitting there, and I was like, "Oh, there's the pineapple." Oh. And it was just not something I could commit to with my work schedule and everything. But fun fact, my wife gave me a pineapple for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little pineapple magnet thing. I saw it today, so it's interesting that we chose this particular topic after coming across that again today.
Yeah, well, I've been watching through again. I'll be like, oh, pineapple. Oh, there it is. Clever. I'm a lot better at it than I was when it was coming out.
Right.
I was like, I didn't see it this episode. Where was it? It was in there somewhere. But they do it a lot more. They got more vague after a while. Like, I thought it would have been more fun if they had, like, actually had a pineapple in every one, but sometimes it was just, like, a logo or something. But it was still fun to try to find.
Speaking of my wife.
But, yeah, like, having Juliet being the opposite of Lassiter worked a lot better. And I think that's why they went with her. As opposed to the first lady, and just I feel like the show got a lot brighter too.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that might have just been production value,
right?
Like, because they were selling the show based on that pilot episode, and then maybe they got their budget money in, and they're like, let's lighten it up.
Well, I've learned a lot about 80s pop culture. Just watching it, because all the references or half of them go over my head, and so I've had,
when he references
I've
something,
grown by looking up some of the, I'm like, what in the world? Who is this person? Because I was watching the Dual Spires episode, which is a ripoff of, or an homage to Twin Peaks.
That's right.
And they're walking around, and there's a little girl that comes up to Gus and it's like, are you this person? And it's an 18th century black writer. I was like, what? Who is this guy? I was like, okay. It's just kind of showing that they haven't learned anything modern. It's just a funny.
Admittedly, with that episode, I had to look up references
Everything.
because I wasn't a Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I've never
person.
watched Twin Peaks.
I did read up on it a little bit on Wikipedia, and it sounded trippy.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Hey, so Daniel, if you're still watching, tell us what your favorite episode was in the comments there.
So anybody watching, go ahead and tell us. What did you like about Psych? What did you not like? I'd say if there was something I didn't like, it was the way the series went down the last season or two.
Yeah.
I used to mark the downfall of it on the episode where Shawn and Juliet get back together after he's revealed his secret, and when I was watching it there live, as soon as it was over, I was like, that's really she's really forgiven him very quickly, because the very next episode is they've act like they're already back together,
but maybe there was
I've only watched
passage of time.
I think once
something.
or twice since then. So it's been a few years since I've watched it, which is why I'm watching it again. But also, I think the first episode of season 6, where it's the Darth Vader episode, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. If you've been on the channel, you know that.
Yeah, I mean,
when I saw that,
this guy does
everything here, everything on this bookshelf is Star Wars, pretty much.
Except for Booster and.
Well, I'm in the books.
I'm teasing.
But so I was really excited about a real Star Wars episode, and it just kind of was a letdown to me. It was about a spoiled brat and a Darth Vader toy, and some of the jokes just didn't land. And I was like, I was getting really excited, and I'm like, there's better episodes than this. And my favorite episodes in season 4, season 3 and 4 were.
They hit
excellent.
the mark, yeah.
Like that's the high marks of the show, and it never reached that or went back down.
Yes, the Yoda.
Yes, the Yoda.
Get in on this conversation, Yoda.
Yeah.
But even like just looking through the list of episodes, you see really quickly that they were firing on all cylinders even before they hit their highest peaks. Because you have some really amazing episodes.
Well, the season finale of season 4 is the one with where they introduce Mr. Yin.
Yeah. And
man, that's good. We were talking about that for like 20 minutes earlier today, because I just watched it this weekend, and it's an homage to all the Hitchcock films, and it's really funny. It's a sequel to the Mr. Yang story, and I watched it, and when I was watching the Mr. Yang, which is the season finale of 3, at the end, Shawn tells Mr. Yang that he is her Yin, Mr. Yin, but she never replies. And if you watch it, I caught this time, she kind of gives a weird face that almost is like, oh no, there's already a Mr. Yin, and I never caught that before until this weekend, and I was like, wait a minute, I wonder if the writers knew at this point that they were going to do a Mr. Yin. And so they wrote it in there, and there's just a little pause, like she's hesitant to say anything in reply because she doesn't want to give away that there's a Mr. Yin. And it just blew my mind. I was like, wow, they had already planned for that. And so in the next episode, or in the sequel, Mr. Yin, we haven't even talked about our other favorite.
No, we're going to talk.
Yeah, but the season finale of 4, it gives Shawn a choice between Jules and Abigail, which is just amazing. But they did a brilliant job at making you think that Mary, the guy that you trusted in the last episode, is actually the killer. And it's just, it's so good. It's
my only beef with the Yin Yang trilogy is that Mary wasn't the killer.
I'm glad he wasn't.
Well, that's fine. I just mean, like, I felt like so many of the clues really said it was.
Yeah.
But
But
I just felt like the reveal in the third one wasn't as big as it could
I don't
have
even
been.
remember what happened.
You'll get there, so I don't want to
I mean,
spoil
I've seen
it.
it a few times. I just don't remember. That's how forgetful that one, or forgettable that one was, compared to the first two. It's a good episode, I thought. I thought it, like the reveal at the very end of season 4 with the picture of a young Shawn with Mr. Yang is just great. But anyways.
Yeah, and it's funny how that role went to Ali Sheedy from the Breakfast Club. Like, they wanted to work all the Breakfast Club actors into particularly that season. Because you have...
Is that season 3?
Yeah. Was it...
I've never
I
seen
can't remember his
Breakfast
name.
Club, so...
I think it's Judd Nelson. He was the doctor. In
Oh,
the
is that the
Contagion
one that they're referencing with Abigail and Shawn? Judd Nelson.
Yes.
Okay. Is he in the show?
Yeah, he's the doctor in the Contagious episode when the virus and Shawn's got his stinky chips in his his stinky chips in his sweatshirt.
Spencer to ground control.
Yeah. So that's Judd Nelson. He was the jock. He was the jock in Breakfast Club.
Okay.
And then
that's a great episode. I really like that one.
Let's see who else.
Last he tells the guys, all right, nobody cause a panic, and then he takes one steps on a piece of or a light bulb and breaks it, and then he gets without even looking, he grabs his microphone. Everybody. Back away from here. There's a dangerous compound that may spread a virus or something. It's crazy. And then they walk up and find it's a light bulb, and they're like, great job. You just spread panic to everybody around.
And then he had to shower outside, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes, and that's good. I always carry a little baby bottle of Johnson & Johnson, Jules. No more tears. And then you have the awkward dude that's I forget his name, but he's the guy that lost the virus to begin with, and he's like this real slinky dude, and he's in the shower too, and Lester's like, who's this guy? Why is he here?
Isn't he the liar guy?
No, that's a different guy.
Oh, okay.
But that's a funny episode too.
Yeah, I it's been so long.
But
I get them all.
Other favorite has to be a Princess Bride cameo.
Despero.
With Despero. Oh, so good. Desperax.
Desperax.
I love that they go on skiing, and it's and you see like a fun moment with Shawn and Jules at the end. But Cary Ellis, man, he's just great. He's
such
great.
a good actor.
Yeah. But I like the second one better because you get a lot more screen time with Cary, and he's just great. And like every time he
every time they meet with him in the prison,
right. When they're leaving, he's
car,
like in the back.
He's like in the back seat of the car, like, hey.
And then the one time they check, he just comes out of the woods randomly with the killer behind him. It's great. Oh, I love that. Oh, it's so good.
So spoiler alert, he wasn't the killer.
You wanted me to be the best thief in the world, so I wanted to prove to you that I am. So good, so good.
Yeah, you had us at Princess Bride. I mean, let's be honest.
Right.
If you reference that or have people from that,
as you wish.
That's right.
Inconceivable.
Anybody want a peanut?
We quote that all the time.
All
the time. But yeah, the third one wasn't as good. I enjoyed it. It's kind of like an Indiana Jones homage.
You know what episode I really like though that had a similar kind of vibe?
Yeah.
The one with Shawn's uncle who leaves the pennies behind.
Oh, that was fun.
And they were treasure hunting. Oh. That was an amazing episode.
Oh, what's that one called?
It was from the second season.
Right.
Let me see.
I know it's Bouchard the pirate. They find Bouchard's gold. Oh, you got it put out.
Yeah.
It's the second season.
No, I think it's the third one. But maybe it is the second one.
It's at the very beginning. It's about an adventure or something.
Yeah, The Greatest Adventure on Basic Cable.
Yeah, that's
or
what it's
something.
called. The Greatest Adventure.
Oh
on
yeah,
Basic
it is
Cable.
third season, it's fourth
Okay.
episode, in the history of Basic Cable, and
Great,
it lives up
great.
to the hype. It's totally awesome. It has Homeboy from Wings. That's his
Season 3, man, that was
uncle.
great. Until season 4 came out, season 3 was my favorite, and then season 4 came out. And you have the cover, and they're like doing the.
They have little water pistols.
Right, and it looks like a Star Trek pose.
It does, yeah.
It's great. It's great. Man, I love it. I love it.
Who can forget Pookie Bear from the 70s episode?
70s episode. That's one of my favorites. Because you get to see like a lot of flashbacks of Henry and his time as a detective. Like I like it when he becomes more involved in the end of season 4, season 5. He's working at the police department, and which is I think why we got Santa Barbara Town at the end of 6.
Mm.
Because
because he's more involved.
More involved, and I liked that. You know, it was a good redemption. I'll tell you, my favorite. He's probably my favorite character in the show. Is Henry.
I'll just tell you, I think you'll love the series finale with what they do with Henry.
Okay.
I won't spoil it for you, but I think you'll really like it.
He's my favorite character. I like when you find out that Shawn's mom is actually the one that left her dad, his
Henry,
dad.
yeah.
And it really just changes everything for the relationship that they have, because Shawn has held, this bitterness against him. Thanks. Yeah.
So Bacon Crafted Curtain, you'll need to go back and catch the opening of the show, because we're wearing the hats in honor of the music video for Private Eye.
The Psych commercial that came out a long time ago that they had. But
tell us what your favorite episode is too.
Yeah, that commercial is just great.
It's pure bliss.
I remember because somehow I got it on DVR when I was in college, early college, and because I was going home.
That's still a thing, right? DVR.
I was going home and watching, Psych and Monk, and those were the two I was watching. And actually, I think I was watching Stargate Atlantis too at the time.
Reruns?
No.
Was that still in syndication then?
I think so.
Huh.
Atlantis was, and then Universe came out, and then okay, whatever. But I watched.
I think that's what most people.
I watched the first season
because I don't think I've ever heard of a Universe.
I watched the first season, but Atlantis was great. So I was watching like 3 shows every weekend, and because I think SG1 had already come off by that point, because it ended like early 2000. 2001, somewhere in there. Anywho, we're not here to talk about Stargate. That's another topic for another time. But, anyways, so the commercial came on, and I had caught it on one of my shows, and so I watched it 100 times. And then YouTube was starting to be a thing, so I watched it on YouTube a bunch. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So I was telling him I work in retail, and they'll play it on the loudspeaker sometimes, and people are intimidated by my singing along.
Is that the word you're going to use? Intimidated?
That's right. Well, they kind of go and walk away.
Yeah. Let's see. What's another good episode?
Well, see, that was the
now
thing.
I will say the reason I put Monk over Psych is because there was a decline in the show. I felt like originally it was these 2 characters that were thrown in these random scenarios, but as it went on, Shawn became a little bit more childish.
A lot more childish.
And then Gus as well. He just early on, and even the first 5 seasons, Gus is always a very stand-up, proper dude. He might fool around with Gus because he's a child at heart, but he always tries to do it with style, and he tries to be the adult of the 2 of them. But he starts becoming more and more. He starts becoming more and more childish. But really, the big one for me was Lassiter. Lassiter, in the last couple seasons, almost like he gets too close to Shawn.
He went over the wall.
It's not that I don't think that he shouldn't respect Shawn because Shawn, is effective, but I feel like the nature of who Lassiter is, being strict by the book kind of guy, and he can't bend in that. It doesn't make sense for him to ever come around to Shawn's way of detective work.
Because he doesn't have to.
Right.
I mean, if he weren't caring about Shawn getting the glory or stealing his spotlight, Lassiter would be an amazing detective.
Well, and Lassiter's not a silly character. And he really becomes a silly character later on.
Right.
And I'm like, this just isn't Lassiter. Like, I loved Lassiter. I don't want a silly Lassiter. Like, I liked the girl that they gave him in the latter seasons. And she was fine at first, too. But then they made her even silly as well. And it's like everybody's just, silly. I'm like, the show, like, characters, not everybody needs to be silly. Like, part of the fun of it, they were talking about this in the Dual Spires episode, where they talked about normally Shawn and Gus are the weird ones, and everybody else is like the sane ones. And the show is you seeing how crazy they are compared to everybody else. But in Dual Spires, they're the sane ones, and everybody else is super weird. And so when you have everybody weird, including Shawn, then nobody's weird, and it's just it's not as interesting.
Right.
I think you see some of the same things with like The Office. The latter season of The Office had the same
Green
problem.
Acres.
Green Acres.
Well, seriously, like you take.
Yeah, remember that show that everybody's seen all of?
That's an excellent show, especially the first couple seasons.
I like
some
the
hilarious stuff,
I like
man.
the Green Acres.
I
just don't remember anything.
Well, my wife and I are watching it right now,
okay.
So that's why it came up in my mind.
Okay, Boomer.
I am not. I am not. Nor have I ever been. I'm somewhere between Gen X and Millennial.
Oh, okay.
I'm in that ditch between the two.
I gotcha.
Because millennials won't claim me.
Yeah.
Because I'm too old, and
most regular millennials don't even want to be millennials. So.
That's right. And then Gen X, that they don't want to. Claim
Anyways.
I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, so there's a character, Mr. Kimball. He's like a government official who can't ever seem to remember anything, and his lack of memory just got progressively worse. If it weren't a goofy show, you'd swear he had like a serious Alzheimer's or something going on.
Yeah. But I like Psych better than most detective shows because it's fun. Fun,
absolutely.
Like, I've watched a lot of NCIS. My family's a big fan, and I like it.
McGee was great.
Yeah. It's just it's not as like it's very serious, and it has its place. I'm not downing on those. Although I liked Los Angeles a lot better because it was a lot more. It was brighter. It was a lot more fun. I thought. Kind of had more of a spy aspect. A good episode is when John Cena shows up.
Oh yes. So that's Psych.
That's
what's
a
that
good
one called?
You can't handle this episode.
Yes, because it's Jules' brother.
Right.
So I'll just go ahead and say John Cena. He's underrated as an actor. He's going to be in the new Suicide Squad movie as probably the Peacemaker character. They haven't declared yet, but he can do funny well.
Yeah. Well, that was the first time I'd ever heard of the person.
Yeah.
It was from Psych. I was like, oh, he's a famous wrestler. Okay.
So he has like the world record for most wishes granted through Make-A-Wish or something.
Okay.
He's done over like 300 or so.
Interesting.
Probably closer to 400 now, but yeah. So in that regard, decent human being.
Yeah. And then there's the other one that was a sequel to that where I forget what it's called, but near the end of season 4, there's this spy who comes to Shawn and is trying to get herself erased And it's great because Shawn and Gus find this random guy who's like killed himself off and hidden from people and disappeared. They find him twice in the episode. It's like, oh, and while you're taking your shoes off, you have 10 seconds to tell me why you're here or I'm going to kill you. And he's like, I'm going to snuff you out without touching you. And then the second time he's like, I'm going to burn you without lighting a match.
I think I remember that, yeah. He's out in the woods.
They're like, whoa, right? Calm down.
And they randomly find him.
And I really like that one because Jules has a boyfriend from the previous episode, and Sean's super jealous. But they've like come to like this dude because he's super rich and he has a lot of cool toys that they borrow, like a helicopter. They borrow like a satellite. It's great. He's
like Batman without actually being Batman.
I didn't like the one before, like the first one that he shows up, and it's he's pretending to be a what's the word? He's like a character from Criminal Minds. Like that's the kind of profiler. He's a profiler, and it's funny because Sean's
Declan, wasn't that his name?
Yes. Because Sean's like, oh, that sounds like a made up title that only you see in movies. He's like, what do you do? He's like, I'm a psychic detective. Oh, that's too good. He says it unironically. It's great. Yeah, I get frustrated when Sean acts so crazy because of somebody else. But that has the spy one has one of the best scenes because one of my favorite scenes in the whole series, and it's Juliet's in the police van and by herself, and Shawn and Gus are talking back and forth about Jules, and Shawn reveals that he hates that Juliet's dating somebody else, but wants her to be happy, and it's just a great scene.
One of the serious moments in the show.
I think later on they end up kissing because he's like, and that's the prelude to the extradition,
where they go all in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's when their relationship officially starts.
I love how over the top their kissing montage is. Like just in random public places.
My wife was a little.
It's a little
put off by that.
She was like,
"That's a little much."
It is. I think that's the purpose. I think they're making fun of movies that do that. They're like flying through a gift shop and tearing stuff
knocking
down.
Everything down. Yep, bull in a china.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh me. Great stuff. Like Woody. When they introduce him, he's just an outstanding character.
The king of the non sequitur.
Yeah, he's so funny.
His watch.
Isn't there one, or am I imagining things where there's they wake up and they don't remember what has happened, and they spend the whole episode trying to figure out what's happening. And part of that is knocking over a giant donut.
Yes.
Didn't it destroy Lasseter's car?
I believe so. Somebody's car got ruined.
And Woody's involved in that.
It's his. I think he's about to get married, and I think this is his bachelor party or something.
Who?
Woody.
I
think.
I don't think it's Woody.
We'll have
I
to
could be
check,
wrong because I know they do his divorce where his wife shows up or his ex. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it might be Lasseter.
Okay, maybe that's what it is.
Might be Lasseter, but they all wake up. Hungover and nobody remembers what it is, and even Henry's there, I think.
Now I could be wrong on the timing, but it could be a play on the Hangover movie.
It might be. I don't know.
I was never really into those, so I wouldn't exactly be that.
But it's hilarious. All the guys are trying to figure out what they did. But yeah, that's a good one. There's a William Shatner episode that I don't remember much about, but I love William Shatner.
I don't remember that either. So he was talking about the drama or crime dramas he watched as a kid. Man, for me it was Magnum PI and Matlock and Diagnosis Murder and
I watched Diagnosis Murder.
And so one of my favorite characters was Gus's uncle.
Oh, that's such a good episode.
He's this older guy played by what's his name? He played the dad on the Good Times. shoot, why can't I think of it? I can't even think of his name on there. It was something Evans.
I've never seen that.
Yeah. Anyways.
But it's great because he's the entire episode he's just relating what they're doing to like old
crime TV.
Crime TV
And it's
shows.
so great.
And even Sean points it out. He's like, man, your uncle's like an encyclopedia of old 80s crime shows. It's great. Or police dramas.
Right. It's so good. Because he references Diagnosis Murder. He's like that time when Diagnosis Murder did this. And you're like, the show was...
Do you think Matlock would run from a case? You've got to do it, Bert. Oh, it's such a good. And then they like go and they eat like all the different foods and it's so good. It's so
and they
funny.
get full and it's so great.
It's so good.
And then at the end, he's got.
Oh yeah, well, and that's the episode that introduced Magic Head, because Sean had to devise a way to make it plausible, we'll say, for Gus to be solving the crime.
Just remember, this is Psych when he tells you this.
and which is great because speaking of Comic-Con, there's a Comic-Con episode that kind of follows after that where Sean introduces him officially as Magic Head. And,
no, I think that came first. I'm gonna look.
Well, it did come first.
The Comic-Con, I think, came first.
No, I don't think so. I could be wrong.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure the Comic-Con came after. Because I think he was rubbing Gus's head, and then later on he,
I don't remember what the one is.
Tries to do it again for the Comic-Con. And anyways, but at the very end of that episode, we get...
Okay, so what it is the Comic-Con comes first, Shawn versus the Red Phantom.
Okay.
And then, because I'm pretty sure Meat is Murder, but Murder is also Murder is the one.
Meat is Murder.
Is the
but
one
Murder
that
is also Murder.
Has the uncle in it, so.
That sounds right.
Let's see.
But anyways, at the end of the Comic-Con one's good because it's got, I love that Sean has like a whole issue of, Psych Man and Magic Head drawn out. That's great. It's so funny.
So I'm excited.
And all the Batman references and
there's all
making
kinds of
fun of
references
George Clooney.
all over the place. Yeah.
Those nipples got me. Oh.
Yes. So that was great. The Red Phantom.
That was a great.
And from what I understand, there were actual comic creators sprinkled throughout the episode.
Yeah.
So.
But the show's also generally clean. Most USA shows were.
I mean, toward the end, Shawn and Gus, you suck it a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, even his dad got in on that catchphrase, and it's like, really?
Well, I could see him getting driven into it by Shawn.
I could see him doing it once, but I felt like he did it more than once. Like, because there was one episode where they were like racing around trying to solve the same clue. I think it was season 6, and
the episode of Shawn 2.0 with Declan, they reference another TV show that uses the F word, and there's the catch was the reason Shawn got it wrong was because there's one that sounds like the guy saying Gurg, but it's actually or something like that, but it's actually the F word. And so Shawn starts saying Gurg, or like, the whole episode. So they kind of play with it a little bit there, but yeah.
Well, on the Monk Brady Bunch spoof episode, I've taken for the longest time just saying Shucky Darns.
That's all right. That was a funny episode.
I like to say it around people who have no idea what I'm talking about, in the hopes that one day someone will say, "You like that show too?" And I'll be like, "I absolutely do."
Another favorite of mine is season 2, Cloudy with a Chance of Rain. Well,
no, that was season 1.
Season 1.
Season 1.
I'm getting all my seasons mixed up.
It's all
I just
good.
watched them.
Right. Well, I think that's part of the problem.
I just watched season 3 and 4, and I'm in part of 5. So I haven't watched 1 and 2
Recently.
For a few weeks or months. But just a great episode. I love that Shawn is. Gus is like, knows what he's talking about in the courtroom, and some of that's fun. And then like Shawn trying to, make up stuff as they go. It's great. I love the dialogue where he's like making up fake.
You were out of order.
Astronomer names, is that right?
Meteorologist names.
So fun, so good. Maybe if you had a name like this.
I love the lawyer, where he.
Oh yeah.
We have a friend. Shout out to Corey, who does that exact same thing. But I'm not sure if it's because of that or if he's just weird.
I never thought about that.
We love you, Corey.
But Corey does it jokingly. This guy did it like not
seriously because he had no idea.
He had no idea. Yeah. But one of the worst episodes of Psych is in either the 7th or the 8th season, where they recreated that whole episode but different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like,
bad.
Sometimes when you're making a joke, it just goes too far, and that was it.
Yeah, no, it really was. Like, I watched it, and I'm like, it doesn't even feel like the same episode, even if you've altered things.
Yeah. Like, the first one was gold.
Pure gold.
Gold. It's one of the best episodes in season 1. And I was just like, why? Why? What made you think that redoing this episode differently was the way to go?
Yeah.
But
because you think about a movie like Clue, which has multiple endings, right? Because of the game. But nothing about the movie changed except the endings and the explanation. And so, like, I suppose ultimately what they did is they changed who the killer was and that sort of thing in the end of that episode. But then they also had to go back and change other parts of the episode, and things just kind of fell flat, and it was sad day.
With some side characters I like. Buzz.
Yes.
He's a fun character. It's nice, like, under Lassiter you have, like, this really cheerful guy who's always
helpful.
Super helpful, cares about everybody, calls Gus, what do you call him? It was one of the first episodes. He called him something, not Gus.
Yeah. I don't remember.
It's like Greg or something.
But I do remember there was the episode where Gus got his car tricked out.
when he tricks out the blueberry.
And Buzz pulled him over and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was you.
Your car just fits a certain profile."
And you're just like, all right.
And the dog's barking at the wheels because there's
drugs in there
or a trace of drugs in there. It's great. It's great. McNabb.
Yes.
He's a great character.
I like Karen. Vic.
Man, she's so good.
The chief. There's one episode.
She wasn't as active in the last few seasons.
Right.
But
there was one where she was all about Phil Collins. Like, she had gotten pulled out of a concert and she was really ticked off about it. And so there's some jokes that got made about Phil Collins and stuff like that. Side note, I enjoy Phil Collins' music.
But I think I might remember that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, Monk and Psych overlap in my mind.
Sure.
I'm like, is that Monk or is that Psych? Usually just have to think of the antics that happen, and I'm like, oh, it's that one. Yeah. But I like Shawn's mom when she shows up. I mean, she's the ending of Mr. Yang.
Yeah.
And even that, like, it's weird that we never see her in the flashbacks. But I know why they didn't do that, because, that's another actor to hire. And,
right.
And they were really trying to show us the father-son dynamic, but it's kind of odd.
I liked Shawn's nickname from his mom, Goose.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you, the young Shawn and young Gus that they had for the first few seasons was excellent. In season 4 when they changed Shawn's, maybe it's 5. I think it's 4 though. The end of 4.
They could have done a whole show on that.
I think that you can tell because the young, not only because it's a different person, but the new Shawn just isn't as good an actor, but the young Gus is just spot on. He's
Right.
like, yeah, I've been doing this for a while. Like, I know what I'm doing.
I'm comfortable.
Right. It's great. And the other Shawn is just kind of lags behind in the acting department. And it's really sad because the other two had like great chemistry.
We should look and see if they've done anything.
I've looked. They didn't.
Okay.
Nothing like major yet.
Yeah.
But they were young, so they still are somewhat young.
Early 20s now, right?
Right. So they might still have time to,
hit
do
it
something.
big. Yeah.
Of course, most of the cast hasn't done much since.
Jules is going to be on a parenting show on Fox with the main actor guy from the American Pie shows.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah. Because there was an advertisement on
Yeah.
YouTube about it or something.
She's tried a couple TV shows and
That's
it
right,
hasn't
yeah.
really fit. I think Gus got into something for a couple seasons.
Oh, he was on The West Wing before.
Well, I mean, after.
Oh.
I think it was Gus who was after. Shawn hasn't done, or James Rhoda hasn't done much.
Or at least in front of the camera. I think
At
he
least
was
in
doing
front,
some
yeah.
stuff behind the scenes.
But just a great show, really fun. It's great to just sit back and enjoy a funny show. I like Parks and Rec. It's my favorite of the two Office Parks and Rec because it's really funny. But Psych, has that detective drive with the mystery that just draws you into every episode. Even though most of them I know how they end. As soon as I see the bad guy, I'm like, oh, there he is. I've forgotten about that, but yeah, he's the bad guy. But even still, like, the jokes are really funny, and
yes, he was.
That's great.
Yes, he was.
Stop calling me Bud. Bud. When they did the episode where they had the what life would be like without Shawn, they had they had Gus in like this 90s black TV show, and his wife was the girl who played Rudy on the Cosby Show.
Excellent.
I was like,
Keisha Pullman or something.
spot on. And so it's really funny that they did it. They kind of referenced that, but yeah. I've forgotten about that.
Daniel, I like the cut of your jib, sir. You got moxie. I like it.
But yeah. I tried watching The West Wing. It just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, it's too serious.
Like I like political stuff. Listening to it. I don't know, like political dramas though. It's not my thing. It like Parks and Rec was funny, and it was less about the politics and more about
the humor,
goofing around and making fun of stuff. They make fun of a lot of politics, which is great. But anyways, Gus was fun. Dule Hill was fun. Good on that show though.
So Daniel, if you want a little bit of trivia, you may or may not be aware, but Gus, legitimately, the actor, was in the She's All That movie with the girl who played Abigail. And yeah, so Paul Walker was also in that movie. I think he played one of the friends of the.
Which one's Paul Walker?
Fast and Furious guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, he wasn't in Psych.
He wasn't in Psych.
No, Freddie Prinze Jr. was in Psych.
Oh, that was a good episode.
And he was in.
He was the
She's All That as the main
secret
guy.
nerd.
That's right. Yes.
On the Alien episode.
Yes.
I love that episode.
So.
Although I think the end, like when his wife turns out to be a big nerd too, I was like, no.
Right. No, that's
not going to happen.
But in real life, he's married to Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Interesting.
And they were in Scooby-Doo together.
But I love that Shawn runs in his eye mask and
Geordie's. Yes.
Yeah, Geordie.
And there was a helmet.
It's a Battlestar Galactica's
yes.
first series helmet that Shawn breaks. That was a great episode. And I love that one because like Henry's like warning them, people are gonna think you're crazy if you go on this thing. And sure enough, they tell the guy that they agree with him, and that guy tells the whole world that they agree with him and think the aliens attacked. And but like there's so many twists and turns in that episode. It's just really really well written, and they make a lot of good jokes about the alien pop culture stuff. It's great. So that's our thoughts on Psych. It's one of our favorite shows. Just excellent. I bought them before I bought Monk.
Yeah.
So.
Me too, but I fell in love with Psych first.
You have them all?
I have all of Monk.
Oh.
Yeah.
You have all of Psych?
I have the first 5 or 6 seasons.
Okay, well, that doesn't make good.
No, I know.
I'm looking for 7 and 8.
I'll look and make sure because I know
Yeah.
exactly where they're at home, but
yeah.
I don't think so. Because I think
they're only like $10, so
yeah.
I'm gonna have to get that. But let us know what you think. What's your favorite parts of Psych? What'd you like about it? What'd you not like about it? Hopefully, you get all the references that we throw in there.
If you didn't like Psych, tell us what your favorite crime drama is,
Yeah.
a la Gus's uncle.
Yeah.
And if you've never seen it, do yourself a favor and check it out. I think the first episode is still on YouTube.
Yeah. I don't know. I think to justify Psych has so many nerdy references in it. It kind of fits for the superhero stuff.
Yeah.
Even though they're not as comic booky.
They're crime fighters.
They're very nerdy.
That's what the book said.
They're very nerdy. I love the book because it's titled "Crime Fighting for the Totally Unqualified." It's just great. Just
so
excellent.
it's a team up story about crime fighting. That sounds very much like comic books to me.
There you go. So let us know what you think. What's your favorite episodes? What you love about the show? We're big fans. We'd love to talk about it. And some ideas we got for Lewis is about to go through some the best comic book covers from Rebirth. And we're going to talk about them. The best covers that I have, at least. There might be some others, but that'll be in the next few weeks. We got some other things worked out. Of course, we're going to try to go to the Charlotte Comic-Con, so
that's in June.
We'd love to see you
there. You're going to
there.
get sick of hearing about that, too.
We've got the Wake Forest Comic-Con in August. So
get sick of hearing about that, too.
Come over for that. That'd be fun. Yeah.
Day after tomorrow is New Comic Day, right? Where are you going to get new comics at?
Play for Life Comics in Wake Forest.
Where if you go in on New Comic Day, what do you get, man?
You get 20%.
20% off.
All new comics.
How can you?
Or all comics on the back wall.
And he's got a sale coming up, right? February 8th.
That's right. He's got a big sale.
Big sale.
We were talking about the dollar bin. He's going to have everything in the store half off.
Except the stuff on the wall, which will be 20%
Which
off.
he'll have.
Discounted.
So.
If you're in the area, stop by.
I think
Play
it's
for
everything
Life.
in the stores half off.
No.
Comics wise.
No.
Not the other boxes.
Back issues are 20% off. 50% off. Dollar bins are half price, so 50 cents a piece. And then all the special, sort of high dollar comics will be at least 20%.
He's gonna have a ton of comics out.
Just go talk to him. Tell him we sent you.
There's a huge amount of 50 cents comics.
He just got some new stuff, as he obviously pointed out to you with that Green Lantern Silver Surfer
That's
comic.
right.
It's definitely worth more than $1.
He bought a whole bunch of novel books too. This is how I got this. So, yeah, that kind of sparked the new Psych phase in me. So
yeah.
When I got that, I was like,
it's totally worth it.
Because I had when I moved back to Wake Forest, I binge watched the first 2 seasons of Psych. Then I had to start working, and then I just had forgotten. And so now I picked it back up because of this book.
When you don't live with anybody, you can pretty much binge watch whatever.
Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate it. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video. And
follow us on Facebook.
Leave us a comment. Talk about this or really anything else sci-fi. We'd love to talk about it. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.